All right, everyone. Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com. I'm Jeff Spiegel, joined by Daniel Starkin. And, we were questioning whether we'd even be here tonight, whether we wanted to come on. Daniel texted me, I think it was 3-1. He said, "You sure you would still want to do this?" And I was like, yeah, we should do it. And then there was another 2-run home run. And yet, we got to do it. We got to talk it out. This is going to be a counseling session for all of us. So the Dodgers go down 1-0 in the NLCS to the Braves. They lose 5-1 in game one. And Daniel, you kind of said it. It's one of those games that everything felt like it went wrong. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I mean, what's the headline for you as you leave game one?
I mean, where do I start? I'll start with the offense because you're not going to win many, if any, games when you only score one run. So that clearly wasn't good enough. The at-bat quality wasn't as high as we got used to seeing in the last couple series, so that's a little concerning. I hope they'll bounce back tomorrow, but it was just a bad night for the offense. And then the bullpen, we'll get into Dave Roberts and some of the decisions, but they put in quality arms. Blake Trinan's been a guy who we said we don't mind him in that ninth inning role. Jake McGee's another guy that we've liked as well, and they just didn't get it done tonight. Even all night when the Braves weren't scoring, it felt like our pitchers were just kind of leaving 0-2, 1-2 pitches right over the middle, and it finally burned them.
Well, we've got a lot of people joining. As you're joining on Facebook or on Periscope or Twitter or YouTube, wherever it is, let us know what your headline is for tonight. The first person, Gerson Gonzalez, says Brusdar needs to be the closer. Tim Larson Roberts got to go. William Mendoza, embarrassing at bats today. Junior Romero, a little positivity. It's okay. Tomorrow we're going to kill it. Monty Joe's disappointed in the bullpen. William Mendoza also says Muncie's a wasted at bat. Samples on Periscope, just so bad today, no words. YouTube, great. Grat just showed he's the closer, even Gonzalez. Junior Romero, don't do this again, Dodgers. So it's kind of, everything that goes on. For me, you mentioned the bats. Dodgers 4 for 31 tonight, 4 for 31. They only drew 2 walks. It was a weird one because the first couple innings, they did take quality at bats. They were drawing walks. They were putting the pitch count up. And then it was like a nightmare from there. It's just 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3. Aside from a Kike Hernandez home run and an infield single from Corey Seager, those are the only 2 hits the Dodgers had after like the second inning or something like that. So not great from the Dodgers. Walker Buehler, I would say, was not great. We've had some questions and concerns about him with the blisters, inconsistency. It's weird to say the Dodgers got lucky to only lose 5-1. Maybe the score ultimately ends up being reflective. But when they were tied 1-1 going into the ninth, that was incredibly fortunate. It felt like it probably already should have been 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. And the bats never really threatened. If you're relying on Kike Hernandez, that's going to be trouble. So David Kessler adds no offense. Bad relief pitching did us in tonight. Bullpen use was trash. Ricky Guerrero. So we'll get into all that. But let's start kind of at the top. Walker Buehler pitches for the Dodgers. This is a guy who's had blister injuries or issues. This is a guy who hasn't been able to get consistent reps as far as starting pitching. Never really, kind of hitting that groove of 5 consecutive starts every 5th day. He comes out, he's throwing hard. Things okay in the first. He gives up the home run to Freddie Freeman, I should say. Which he hits the ball about as clean as you possibly could. I think the exit velocity was 111. It felt like it should have been 150. That is as clean as you can hit a baseball. Austin Riley maybe threatens that a little bit in the ninth, but Buehler struggles. He recovers. He gets back in the second, usually the trouble inning. He gets around a walk and a passed ball. But from there, it's just walk, walk, walk. He set a career high with walk. So, Daniel, for you, before we get into the bullpen, before we get into the bats, just starting at the top, do you have concerns about Walker Buehler? If the Dodgers are going to do something serious, if they're going to win this series, almost assuredly he's going to pitch again. And for them to make a serious run at the World Series, they need him. Is it time for concern? This is the second consecutive outing, I believe, that he has set a career high in walks.
Yeah, it's definitely fair to be concerned, but what other choice do we have?
Yeah.
They have to roll with him at this point, and he battled out there, but it's clear that he doesn't look like his usual self. His command is all over the place, and this is, I'm talking about the entire postseason, not just tonight. And when I say his command's all over the place, that means he's walking people, which was obvious. He walked a career high tonight, but also he's just missing his spots. That when we talk about the home run to Freeman, it was I don't know if it was 0-2 or 1-2,
Yeah.
but Will Smith wanted a fastball up, and he just missed it down and in right at the knees, right in the happy zone for a lefty, and Freddie did what Freddie does. So. He was all over the place. Credit to him. He battled.
Yeah.
He pitched into the 6th inning. He struck out, I think, 7 or 8. So he's still missing bats, which is good to see, obviously. But the command is a concern. I don't know for sure if it's the blister. I have to imagine the blisters playing a factor in it. And it's not like this blister issue is just going to go away by his next start. Like, this is something he's going to have to pitch through the rest of the way. So it's definitely concerning, but it's not like, we could just have another starting pitcher pop out of thin air. So we just got to ride him at this point. I mean, he battled and got into the 6th with only 1 run allowed, so he kept him in the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I want to switch the conversation to Roberts here, where there's a couple situations where Buehler could have been the GOAT, but he wasn't. And I want to talk about Roberts now, because a lot of people want to make this about Dave Roberts. Personally, for me, I didn't think this game was on Roberts. I didn't think Roberts was perfect. I can't believe that Buehler came back out for the 5th inning, let alone the 6th inning. The way he struggled in the 4th, I thought for sure he'd be toast. They bring him out for the 5th inning. He survives, I think, is the best way there. I thought maybe he just gets Acuna, but he gets out of it. 1, 2, 3 with Acuna, Freeman, and Ozuna. I'm like, okay, great. Kike hits the home run. Then he comes back out for the 6th, leadoff single. Still out there with 97 pitches, a season high, get another single. Luckily, Gratterall comes in and closes out. From there, honestly, I didn't have trouble with anything that Dave Roberts did. I mean, you could say, do you bring McGee and the lefty to face Ozuna? But at that point, imagine if he would have brought Kenley Jansen in that moment. What was he going to do in that moment? McGee was the best pitcher they had out there. Maybe you don't love the lefty-righty matchup. McGee's been pretty good against both lefties and righties this year. So for me, Roberts wasn't the issue tonight. Maybe I'm wrong. People let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. But to me, Roberts wasn't the one who went 4 for 31. He didn't have any guys in the lineup. The only guy I had issue with in the lineup was Kike Hernandez. He hits a home run. So aside from Kike, I thought the lineup was fine. I don't know what Roberts could have done more outside of Buehler, which Buehler wasn't the part that burned him.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. And I'm sure there's plenty of people in the comments that don't. But at a certain point, we can't just keep blaming Dave Roberts for everything, right? Yeah. He put in some of his best relievers. They all got the job done. And then Blake Trinan, who, I mean, he's been shaky for sure, but it's a guy that you could trust in a tie game in the 9th inning. He just didn't have it tonight. And then Jake McGee came in and didn't have it either. So, I mean, the lack of offense is not Dave Roberts' fault.
Yeah.
Walker Buehler walking 5 guys is not Dave Roberts' fault. Blake Trinan throwing a 1-2 pitch down the middle when it's supposed to be high is not Dave Roberts' fault. So, we could nitpick some of the decisions Dave Roberts made, like Gratterall only threw 6 pitches. He maybe could have sent him back out there for another inning. But we also have to remember that it's 7 straight games here. So now maybe if you send Gratterall out for another one, then he's out for game 2, whereas now he in theory should be available tomorrow. So I think that's something to consider as well. And I also think that's why they sent Buehler out for the 6th inning, just because they know they need to get more length from their starters this series. So, I saw on Twitter and on the internet, everyone's hating on Dave Roberts. But to me, this one wasn't on him. The offense only scored 1 run. So, honestly, the game was over as soon as Riley hits that home run. So it's hard to blame Dave Roberts for the mistakes that were made tonight. It was just a bad night all around for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think that people are saying in the comments, if there's one issue, they say, hey, maybe you bring Victor Gonzalez back out for the 9th. He gets out of the bases loaded jam in the 8th. What's interesting is right before that, John Wiseman, I believe, tweeted that Gonzalez had only warmed up for 3 minutes prior to that. Now, Gonzalez was a guy who was up early. He was actually warming in the 4th inning. Buehler stays in. So he gets up in the 4th, goes and sits back down. He gets back up in the 8th, comes in, high leverage situation, bases loaded, gets the strikeout, goes absolutely insane. I mean, sure, could you have left him in? But if he really did warm up for 3 minutes, if he really had, basically warmed up, sat down, warmed up again, and then goes through the absolute, emotional high of getting that strikeout, maybe you get a better outing there. Maybe you get a better outcome. But, I mean, for me, it's like, again, Trinan's a guy I like. Now, some people don't like Trinan. They say, hey, he's not missing enough bats. But, I mean, he got ahead on Riley. He just missed a pitch. And unfortunately, he continued to miss pitches. Now, again, you could criticize Roberts and say, why was Trinan in there for the fourth batter? I don't know. The first two exit velocities were all about 110. The one out he had was a 405-foot pop fly to dead center that Freddie Freeman hit. So I could understand why. But again, I mean, they were already down 3-1. Nobody thought this game is different if it's 3-1 instead of 5-1 going into the ninth. So for me, it's not on Roberts, it's on the bats. And honestly, part of me is that's the piece that's concerning to me, because I tweeted this. Like, Justin Turner, for example, is a guy the Dodgers need to get going. He faced Will Smith. Will Smith left two hanging sliders, 84 miles an hour, middle, and Turner fouled them off. Those are the types of at-bat where it's like in a 1-1 game, you need to be able to trust a guy like Justin Turner, and he struggled. And he had a single in this one, but he's not a guy that's been able to put consistent at-bats. And you look down, Mookie Betts had a bad night. I'm not worried about Mookie Betts. Corey Seager had a bad night tonight. I'm not super worried about Corey Seager, but with guys like Seager and Bellinger, it's kind of like you have the doubts in the back of your head of like, these guys have struggled in the postseason. So, I mean, I guess I'll just ask you, and again, people in the comments, let me know, what's your confidence level that the bats are going to be back tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that?
I mean, I'd love to say, I'm totally confident, which we in theory should be, because this offense has been great all year. Every team has their bad games, and this team has done really well with bouncing back the next day. But at the same time, we've seen this in the postseason year after year after year, where the bats just go quiet, and they got all these superstars in the lineup, but they're just not taking the right approach. They're staring at first pitch curveballs right down the middle that, they could do damage with. We saw Kike, that exact pitch is the one he hit for a home run, and it was probably the seventh hanging breaking ball that freed through, and they finally made him pay. But, it was a rough night for the offense, and it's hard not to be concerned, like I said, just because of everything we've seen from these guys.
Yeah. So Mookie Betts 0 for 4, Corey Seager 1 for 4, Turner 1 for 4, Muncy 0 for 3, Will Smith 0 for 3, Cody Bellinger 0 for 4, Pollock 1 for 3, Hernandez 1 for 3, Chris Taylor 0 for 2. So, I mean, again, you go down the list of how many of these guys do you trust? I think we trust Mookie Betts. We're going to give Corey Seager the benefit of the doubt because of how good he's been this both the regular season and so far in the postseason. Turner has struggled. Muncy has struggled. Will Smith, I'm okay with. Bellinger has been all right, but has struggled in the postseason. I mean, in some ways, the beginning of the game, I'll be honest, I said, okay, Muncy took a good at bat, got a walk. Turner singled. A.J. Pollock singled. It was like boom, boom, boom. Those are the three guys you want to kind of get the playoff bats going. Unfortunately, it was short-lived. And even that was the moment where it's like you had Will Smith up in a big moment, then you had Mookie Betts up in a big moment. The two guys you would want up in big moments, and neither one of them came even close to doing anything.
Yeah, and I think one thing that is going in the Dodgers' favor, at least, is that they're facing a righty tomorrow, Ian Anderson. We've seen the Dodgers struggle against lefties this year, and Max Fried is one of the best left-handed starters in baseball this year. He had like a sub-2 ERA. He was great. So he had a good outing. You tip your cap to him. But, I mean, hopefully we come back tomorrow and swing the bats well, because you can't really afford to go down 0-2 and against a young, hungry Braves team like this that smells blood. And they haven't lost the game this whole postseason. So I think tomorrow's a big game. I'm not quite hitting the panic button yet, but if they lose tomorrow, then it may be time.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, tonight for me, again, I'm not panicking. Tonight felt like the game that was winnable. I mean, Fried struggled in his last start. Anderson's the guy who's been absolutely lights out. I think he's got like in 11 innings, he's got like 17 strikeouts and just 8 base runners and just under 12 innings. So he's been their best pitcher. Now, as you said, he's a righty, so that's good news for the Dodgers. That feeds into a guy like Seager and Muncy and Bellinger, as well as gets you probably, I mean, Kike hit the home run tonight, but you get an upgraded bat with either Edwin Rios or Jock Peterson probably. Well, I guess it'll be Will Smith at the DH because Austin Barnes will be catching. Right. So, but it does give you some more options. So it's not to say the Dodgers are dead in the water, but for me, if I saw Fried and Anderson, Fried's the one I would have liked to have gotten because Anderson, I think, is the better pitcher. Now, it's one day. Fried looked really good. So if Anderson looks better than Fried did today, the Dodgers are in trouble. But, I think it's interesting as a Dodger fan because I think we all are reacting the way we are because of past history, not because of anything this team has done, but because we have the nightmares of the last 6 years of postseason flameouts. And so, yes, it's one game, and yes, the bat struggled, but you're playing the best pitcher the other team had to offer. You saw their 3 best arms out of the bullpen. So you could write this off and say, hey, the bullpen had a bad day. The bats had a bad day. Just wipe it off. But the question is, can the Dodgers do that? Is what you and I are feeling, what Corey Seager's feeling, and what Cody Bellinger's feeling, and Justin Turner and Max Muncy, like Turner probably not, but some of those younger guys, I'm like, they have to have it in their psyche of, we haven't done this before and here we go again, right?
Right. I mean, yes, but we've seen this team bounce back all year. I know it's not the postseason, obviously, but this kind of just reminds me of that one game against the Padres when Trent Grisham hit that homer off Kershaw and Dinelson Lamet pitched really well, and then the Dodgers bullpen faltered. They made a few errors, and I think they lost that game 5-1 as well. And we were on this show. The Padres were celebrating the World Series. Dodgers were panicking, and then they bounced back and won the next 2 games. So, I'm not in panic mode yet. We got Clayton Kershaw going tomorrow. He's faced the Braves in the postseason 3 times in his career, giving up 1 earned run in 21 innings. But when he faced them in the 2018 NLDS, he went 8 shutout, only allowing 2 hits. And they still have a lot of the same guys in their lineup as they did that year. So, I mean, he's had success against these guys in the past. I think he'll have a good outing tomorrow. But it just comes down to, can we get the bats going? I think that's the key to this series. And we'll see if it happens.
Moses Chen wants you to know that was a good comparison. You've restored his faith, Daniel. So he's back to believing that the Dodgers are going to come back.
If I restored one person's faith, I feel like I did my job.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's a 7-game series, right? We came out of a 3-game series. We came out of a 5-game series. This is 7. If we're saying the Dodgers have never lost a series all year, that means they've never lost 3 out of 4 at any point. This is a 7-game series. So things would have to go far worse. Now, obviously, the Braves are either the best team or on par with the Padres, the best team the Dodgers have played. You could say the A's maybe as well. But the Dodgers have played good teams, and they've survived, the Astros as well. But it will be interesting. I mean, obviously, tomorrow's a big one. But even now, as I say that, if the Dodgers lose tomorrow, guess what? They would need to win 4 out of 5, which isn't the craziest thing in the world when you consider who the Braves are going to have pitching. Their 3rd starter's not any good. They don't have a 4th starter. They definitely don't have a 5th starter. So the Dodgers, it's kind of like the Braves needed this one. The Braves need tomorrow. So if you can take one of the 2 when you've got their best starters on the mound, that's huge. Now let's look ahead to tomorrow. Clayton Kershaw is on the mound. You've talked about. He's had success against the Braves in the postseason, but it's obviously a different Braves team than maybe Kershaw has faced in the past. So Kershaw had a great outing 2 outings ago. He struggled a little bit last time. How confident are you in Kershaw? Do we feel like, does the pressure, I'm not worried about Kershaw feeling the pressure, but I wonder if winning or losing today has an impact on a guy like Kershaw tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about how the Braves kind of needed this game more because their pitching doesn't quite line up as good for the rest of the series. And I think the Dodgers know that, so I don't think they're pressing too much just yet. As far as Kershaw goes, we have no clue what to expect, frankly. He could either come out and go 8 shutout tomorrow, or he could give up 4 home runs in the first 3 innings. We've seen both out of him in the postseason, but it is important to note that this season, I guess, is a different Clayton Kershaw than we've seen in past postseasons. He's fresh. He only made 10 or 11 regular season starts. He's looked good in his first 2 postseason outings. I know he gave up the 2 homers in the 6th inning last time, but the one to Machado was a good pitch.
Yeah.
So he's still, I think he still pitched well in that game. And if he could get through 6 innings again, that's huge for the Dodgers moving forward because they'll keep their bullpen fresh. But hopefully they could give him some early runs of support tomorrow, and then he could kind of just settle in from there and take care of the rest. So I don't think anyone's pressing just yet to answer your question. But tomorrow's definitely a big one.
Grayson says 7 innings, 2 earned for Kershaw. So if you're following us on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope, give me your prediction. Daniel, I'll come to you with the prediction in just a couple moments. But yeah, I mentioned this in our season series preview. I'll add, the Braves are about league average against lefties. They're far better against righties. So they were like the 2nd or 3rd best team, I believe, against righties, batting average wise. They're like 14 against lefties. So that plays in their advantage. And when you go down that lineup, even today, Freeman was the guy that felt impossible to get out. Acuna was good, but not great. Obviously, he gets the big hit in the 9th. Albies gets a hit in the ninth as well. So some of those guys started to come around, but to have a lefty going against Freeman, I mean, Freddie Freeman's hitting everybody and everything, so I'm not sure it really matters. But, I mean, if you're the Dodgers, you and I have said we both like Kershaw better than Buehler at this point in the season. So
Yeah.
the Dodgers have their best pitcher going tomorrow. Yes, they use some of their better arms, but Gratterall could come back tomorrow. Gonzalez could come back tomorrow. They've got a lot of, I mean, Floro has been a good guy that's been down there. They have plenty of arms. Hopefully we don't see Alex Wood anytime soon, but the Dodgers are in a good spot to win tomorrow. I think if you said, hey, the Dodgers need to win tomorrow, Kershaw's the guy I would want on the mound. And I don't think there's anybody in the bullpen the Dodgers need that's unavailable. So with that in mind, yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go 6 innings, no earned for Kershaw. I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to pitch well. I think he's going to limit the damage. I think he's probably going to deal with some traffic, but it's kind of the same deal. In this ballpark, I don't think he gives up the home runs. He might give up 4 or 5 hits, but I think he doesn't allow them to string it together. So I'll go 6 innings, no runs, a little bit of a pitch count that gets him out there. And that's what I've got for Kershaw. So comment below what you got for Kershaw's line tomorrow. Daniel, what about you? We've heard 7 innings, 2 earned from Grayson. I've got 6 innings, no earned. What does everybody else have?
I'll kind of split the middle there. I'm going to go 6 1/3, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, which to me, that's a really good outing. You take that every day. Yeah. Obviously, tonight, that wouldn't have been good enough because, 2 runs lost the Dodgers the game. But I feel like if he could pitch – get through 6 innings, pitch into the 7th, and limit the damage to a couple runs. The Dodgers will take that every time, and you just hope the bats get going.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately the Dodger offense needs to score about 4 or 5 runs minimum tomorrow. I mean, if that doesn't happen, none of this is really going to matter. We've got 6 innings, 1 home run. We've got 5 innings. We've got 6 innings, 1 earned from Moses, 6 innings, 1 earned, 8 Ks. So that's a guy that agrees with you, but definitely will be interesting. I mean, the bullpen, do you have any concerns about the bullpen tomorrow, or you feel just as good about the bullpen as you did today?
I mean, I feel like the bullpen should be, rested enough that everyone's available tomorrow. No one threw a ton of pitches tonight. So in theory, you should have Gratterall. You should have Gonzalez. You should have, I doubt they go to May again because he's probably going to have to start or pitch in bulk in one of the games. But you still got plenty of guys down there. We didn't even see guys like Pedro Baez, Dylan Floro tonight. So they still got some guys. They got Adam Kolarek if there's a couple lefties that need to get out. So I think the bullpen's still fine. And when I say fine, I'm not saying they're going to go out there and shut it down because clearly we saw that they didn't do that tonight. But as far as health-wise and rest-wise, I think everyone should be good in the bullpen tomorrow.
Yeah, Ernesto says 7 innings, 2 hits, 11 strikeouts. If the Dodgers get that out of Kershaw, I think we're going to have a very different post-game show tomorrow. So it will be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, all those guys should be available. So from a bullpen perspective, I mean, even a guy like Trinan, who was a mess tonight, if they needed to go back to him tomorrow, I mean, you kind of, at this point in the season, it's like you said with Buehler, you just take your chances. You trust the guys who have gotten you to this point. Trinan's a veteran. He's not a guy that's going to dwell on it. Aside from May, and probably Gonsolin, who they'll need, maybe even Urias available. Somebody commented that. I'm not sure he would piggyback Kershaw to go lefty-lefty. You probably would want to switch the arms so that you maybe get a lineup that's used to facing a lefty and then come back with the righty, but we'll see. So I think as we talk ourselves through this, I'm a lot less concerned than I was. I mean, I think we're in the same boat. It's the bats. If the Dodgers come out and score 4 or 5, all I need to see for tomorrow is the Dodgers run line. Even if the Dodgers lose tomorrow, if they were to score 5 or 6 runs, I think I'd feel fine. If they were to win 1-0, I don't think I'll feel fine. I think I'll be a wreck. So it will be interesting to see. They've obviously got a righty on the mound. So let's kind of close out the show. We won't run this too long considering it was a rough night. But righty on the mound, who do you like as far as the Dodgers offense to kind of get things going? Is there a guy in there that you're looking at and saying, I mean, I predicted Muncy tonight, which was an absolute disaster. I also bashed Kike beforehand. So pretty much anything I said today was the exact opposite. But is there a guy in the Dodger lineup you like tomorrow?
I'm going to go with the 2 guys at the top, Mookie and Seager. They've been the team's 2 best offensive players all year. When other guys were struggling, Muncy and Bellinger and those guys, it felt like it was Mookie and Seager carrying them for most of the season. So hopefully they could set the table. tomorrow night. We haven't seen too many early runs from the Dodgers. I don't know if they've scored in the first inning since literally the first game against the Brewers when Suter walked like 3 guys. So, hopefully they could get it going early tomorrow, put up some early runs. That would be nice for a change.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of who else, right? If it's not going to be Mookie and Corey Seager, who else? I mean, Will Smith's a guy who's hit the ball well, but who struggled tonight. I imagine he's in the DH spot tomorrow and gets a good chance. Again, I liked seeing AJ Pollock get a single. He's a guy who struggled. Maybe Bellinger. I mean, there's so many bats, right? That's the thing about the Dodger lineup. We're not looking for all 9 guys to get going all at once. It's like, just give me 4 or 5 of these guys that we should be able to get half of them going on a nightly basis. So it will be interesting to see. Let's close out the show. And if you're still following, we appreciate it. Give me a score prediction in the comments below, whether it's on YouTube or send us a message on Twitter. Give us a score prediction for Game 2. I'm going to go. I think the Dodger offense does figure it out. I think the arms get their job done. So I'm going to go 5-2 Dodgers. I think they scrape. I think it's a comfortable 5-2. I think they get 5 runs in the first 4 or 5 innings and kind of hang on from there. So I've got 5-2 Dodgers tomorrow. We've got 2-1 from KTK. We've got THP Knob has 7-3 Dodgers. Coop Life has 5-3 Dodgers. What do you got, Daniel, for tomorrow?
Whoever just said 7-3, props to them, because that's the score I had in my mind. I think we see the bats get going tomorrow. We see solid innings from Kershaw. Bullpen takes care of business. I'm going 7-3.
Okay, so Pilo GLZ says 6-3. We've got 5-1. We've got 6-3. So there's confidence among Dodger fans. 8-2, Moses says. Junior Romero says Seager has 2 home runs. Cody has a home run. JT has 2 home runs. And Seager hits another one. So Seager, there's like 12 home runs from the Dodgers, according to Junior. Grayson says 6-2 Dodgers with Jock Peterson pinch hit 3-run home run. So we'll see. There's confidence in Dodgerland. It's Game 1. It's a 7-game series. This is a good team they're playing, but they didn't lose this game at home, so it's not like a bigger deal than it needs to be. It's one game. We would have loved to see them win. Obviously, nobody's saying that. There is reason for concern, but there's also reason for optimism. So until things go terribly, terribly wrong, we're going to stick with that. So we appreciate y'all joining us. I know this was a rough one. Dodgers fall 5-1 in Game 1 of the NLCS, but there's hope. There's another game tomorrow. Have they released? Do we have a first pitch time for tomorrow, Daniel? Have you seen anything?
It's early. The next 2 games are both at 3:00 Pacific time.
Okay, so 3:00 Pacific time, Dodgers first pitch tomorrow. Stay tuned. Find us on Twitter, and we'll let you know about post-game show. The plan is to do one, but we might be doing one late at night. We might not do it immediately following the game. We might be on here at like 8 p.m., so stay tuned for details about that. Check out our YouTube channel, Dodger Blue 1958. We'll have all the post-game coverage, press conferences. I know Dave Roberts is speaking, and you could find those tweets if you follow us on Dodger Blue 1958 on Twitter or on Facebook as well. DodgerBlue.com will have a game recap and all that. So we appreciate you joining us. We will see you tomorrow as the Dodgers prepare to hopefully even the series against the Braves in the NLCS. Have a good rest of the night.